present Genius, a brain belch that's considered polite in some cultures. Here is your host, Dave Gorman.
Hello, I'm Dave Gorman and welcome to Genius, the show all about your ideas. Every week, a celebrity guest and I pore over a potpourri of plots, plans, inventions and scams, hoping to unearth some genuine gems of genius. The ideas we examine have been selected from the thousands that were sent to us at Genius HQ by you, the Radio 4 listeners. And I'm not ashamed to say that after reading one or two of the ideas, I was moved to more secure accommodation. Let me tell you now, Leslie Goodman, you're not allowed to establish your own Radio 4 loyalty card, and even if you were, I don't think listening to one episode of Genius would really entitle you to that kind of privilege. Now, while Leslie Goodman's, shall we say, unusual scheme hasn't made it to tonight's show, several ideas have, and to cast his eye over those ideas, I'm delighted to say we have a guest of rare genius. He's known to Radio 4 listeners for his two series, Civilization and The Ape That Got Lucky, for which he won a Gold Sony Award for Best Comedy. Savvy TV viewers will also know him for his portrayal of the hapless Ollie in the BBC's award-winning Whitehall comedy The Thick of It. If that isn't proof enough of his genius, let me tell you that he is also responsible for once stranding Keith Harrison Orville on a raft in the middle of the River Thames. Please make welcome the genius that is Chris Addison. Chris, thank you for coming. Do you have any genius ideas you'd care to share with us this evening of your own?
I've spent the day driving, and you know that many councils have a sort of lorry that has an enormous blade, an enormous vertical blade that they use for chopping hedgerows at great speed. I was thinking if perhaps we could adapt one of those so that it had a horizontal blade which could be driven along at a particular height, scything England flags off cars.
Would it also take off the things on the top of aerials of the novelty?
Yes.
This is my car. Yeah. Little sort of Mickey Mouse heads and all those things.
Anything novel above a certain height would be a height novelty remover.
I'm more than convinced of your genius. Let's see if we have any ideas this evening that can convince you of theirs. I want you to take the responsibility seriously tonight, though, Chris, because at the end of the show, one of the ideas is going to win for its creator the Genius Trophy. Oh, yeah. It's a trophy that never fails to generate a particular reaction from an audience. A reaction best described as shock and awe. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. A reaction best described as shock and or disappointment. Well, let's get on with the show. And our first potential genius is Nick Woodhead from Westley in Devon.
Dear Genius, how about having weighing scales built into shoes? They could have a little readout in the toe cap. That way, people who are losing weight can keep an eye on how they're doing all the time.
OK, Chris, you're a skinny slip of a lad. What do you make of this?
There are two shoes, presumably, as per normal. There's a normal number of shoes.
That's normally what you see.
And each shoe has a readout.
Yes.
Because it strikes me as if you put your foot on a bathroom scale, it suddenly shoots up, doesn't it? And then, and then it kind of rights itself. But if you're walking along the whole time, putting pressure on one foot, then the other foot, and then taking them off in very quick succession, it will be difficult to get an accurate readout. Let's say, you'd have to be doing very quick mathematical calculations in your head.
We can test that, actually, because we went to the trouble of making a prototype.
Oh, very good.
Shoe, which I'm actually wearing at the moment.
Oh, yeah, oh, good.
So we've got a pair of shoes with scales in, which I'm sure people at home can hear. It's not just some scales and some gaffer tape, no. And I think Chris might be onto something, because if I stand still, if I lean to my right to read the right-hand dial, it puts my weight onto my right foot, and I go right up to about 10 stone on my right foot, and if I lean to my left, I'm about 11 stone on that foot. That's 21 stone in total. Yeah.
Although, to be fair, your stomach is on the left, so it's possible you just ate a lot of food before coming on.
That is true. Just look at the fun you're having doing it.
I'm not saying it isn't fun.
Also, people are quite cagey about their weight, and this allows anybody in public simply to read and know what a great big pork you are.
I have thought of that.
Oh, OK.
There's two options.
Yep.
You could either go for the detachable toe cap, because you could cover it up so no one else could see.
I see.
And then you'd also be doing a bit of exercise when you bent down to uncover it, to help you lose some weight.
Many fat people, of course, can't bend down. How do you deal with that?
But then how do they get their shoes on in the first place?
Well, this is a very... Well, you're simply pointing out more flaws in your scheme.
It does make me think that maybe the correct shoes for someone who's conscious about their weight would be running shoes.
This is the thing that worries me slightly, is that it's about the instant culture. We don't lose weight that quickly. That's just not something that happens. I saw today, in a motorway service station, I saw one of those gossip mags, and it said, get a flat tum in 3 days with Carol Vorderman. It wasn't clear to what use you were supposed to put Carol Vorderman during the process. But you can't do that. So you can't do it in 3 days. It's not possible. And you're kind of feeding that lie, I feel, that people can get instant weight loss when actually just checking yourselves of a Saturday morning ought to be enough.
It seems to me that there's something about weight doesn't go down in those kind of increments. You don't need to be checking it the whole time. If you were to have a grapefruit for breakfast, then presumably, immediately after eating that grapefruit, you weigh your weight plus the weight of the grapefruit. Immediately afterwards.
Well, you could find out.
Well, you could. with some scales and the grapefruit, which is what we've got here. So, if I weigh the grapefruit, it weighs 342 grams. So if I was to eat that, I would weigh my svelte 9 stone, go with it, plus 342 grams.
You're mixing up imperial and metric. This is an absolute nightmare.
But if I was to eat this Mars bar, I would only weigh an extra 68 grams. So your shoes are going to be giving out bad diet advice. I think there's... not all women, I wouldn't want to be that pejorative, but a lot of women I know are obsessed with two things. Their weight and shoes. and you've come up with an idea that kind of ruins both. I don't know, Chris... I'm not sure. I'm getting a kind of mixed vibe from you about this one.
I think it's unworkable. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can see what you've tried to do. You've tried to make life convenient in a really unnecessary way. and for that, you're to be applauded, because that really is the theme of the 21st century. But I just can't see that they're of any practical use.
Are scales built into shoes? Is this a genius idea or not?
Oh, yeah, no. Sorry, Nick.
I'm very sorry, Nick Woodhead of Devon. You're not a genius. Thank you for coming all the same. OK, well, our next idea comes from Junior Powell, who's from Uxbridge.
Dear Genius, I suggest you always keep a UV marker pen with you at all times. Then, when you see something you like, you can put your postcode and contact details on it. There's a good chance that some of these items will get stolen and recovered by the police. Then they'll call you to let you know they've got your stuff and when's a good time to come and collect it.
Chris, I should point out, morality is not a factor here on Genius. Morally corrupt things are allowed to be genius. Don't let that sway you. What do you think?
How desperate are you to have a 6-year-old telly? For free. I really don't know what I think of this. I'm surprised to find that this is what UV pens are for. I always thought they were just for doing graffiti in nightclubs.
Yeah.
But how much stuff do you reckon you actually have to go round and mark with your own...
I think make it a lot of Saturday hobby. You and your friends go out with your marker pens, like to Carrier's, Dixon's. Just mark it. If you see something, just mark it up and... with better luck, you can pick it up a couple of years later. It's not actually theft. The worst it could be is graffiti.
Yes, it is theft!
No.
It's not your stuff, and it's dishonestly got. That is theft.
No, but I'd say it'd be more like graffiti.
Yeah, but what happens when you go around doing a tag graffiti on the wall? They don't bring the wall round to your house later, do they?
Yeah, but everybody wins.
No, they don't! No, they don't! Not everybody wins! Somebody loses here. A telly.
And the insurance will pay back the person, so they'll get a brand new bit of kit. Yeah, so all you're getting is basically what stuff that they...
Oh, we're ripping off the insurance companies. Oh, fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I didn't realise. Sorry, I hadn't worked that through at all. Yeah. Oh, all right.
I just think if you'd kept this to yourself and done it,
Yeah.
I'd think you were a genius, but the nation would never know. And by telling the nation, you've made it hard for yourself because now everyone will go out and do it.
Yeah.
And then police will be trying to recover goods and they'll shine the UV light on it and it'll belong to everyone. The first rule of UV Pen Club, don't talk about UV Pen Club. The second rule of UV Pen Club, always put the lid back on. What you could do is steal stuff.
That's dishonest.
Dear BBC, I turned on Radio 4 earlier in the week to hear a well-spoken young man saying what you ought to do is steal stuff.
I did not say what you ought to do. I'm just saying to achieve the same aim, it might be better to just steal stuff.
No, I said, but that's theft. What I'm doing, I said, is just graffiti with a bit of luck at the end.
Well, firstly...
You're not guaranteed to get the stuff, but, you know, in a couple of years' time, you get police knocked on your door with a TV.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not a guaranteed way to get a telly,
but
it's a way of giving yourself a 1 in 10,000 chance of maybe one day the people who move into your house being given a telly.
Would the people in Dixon's not start saying bloke with the UV pens in again?
I don't know. How are you feeling, Chris? I mean, I'm conflicted by this one, but it's not my choice. It's your choice.
I'm slightly conflicted. I think it's a really elegant idea in many respects, but I don't know how much of this stuff you'd have to do before...
I was thinking you have to go around a bit, so...
You have to go around... I reckon you'd have to put in enough man-hours that you could otherwise use getting a job that would earn you the money to buy a telly.
Chris, let's have a decision. Is the UV pen sweepstake lottery type idea genius or not?
I kind of want to say it is, but in my heart of hearts, I don't think it is.
You try it. When you get your 6-year-old TV, you...
Yeah. Do you know... Well, maybe I might.
Junior Powell from Uxbridge, thank you for coming, but you're not a genius. OK, our next idea comes from the delightfully named Thurston Young of Bradford.
Dear Genius, why not have clairvoyant newsreaders? They could predict disasters before they happen, and so make the news essential viewing for everybody. They'd also be guaranteed to scoop other journalists, thus making all their fellow professionals redundant.
OK. Chris, what do you look like you're hurting on this one. What are you thinking?
It's based on the fundamental mistake that clairvoyants are anything other than shysters. Isn't it? I mean, it's all lies, that's the problem.
Depends on the clairvoyant.
No, it doesn't!
No, it does.
Okay.
My granddad, he can tell your star sign just from tasting your nipple. Only works with women, apparently. But he gets it right about 1 in 12 times. He's got mystic powers.
But not, thankfully, Mystic Meg, that would be... Oh.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just about to say, you see. I mean, if you had her reading the news,
yes,
she might say, well, such and such's caravan is going to be stolen tonight, or rather, someone's caravan is going to... But if you had Derek Acora off Most Haunted, then he'd be able to give you the registration number and everything.
Yes. Maybe the police should employ them, rather than the news. As I don't recall the last time a caravan's theft story appeared as top billing, although probably on the ITV evening news, as they're a bit simple, aren't they?
The reason I'm pitching this is for the ratings, because most times when you watch the news, it's always happening to somebody else. But if you've got clairvoyance reading it, then there's just that small possibility that something life-changing might happen if you don't actually watch it, and you've got nothing to sort of... you couldn't control it or avoid it.
You're suggesting that there isn't enough of an incentive to watch the news because it doesn't personally affect you?
Yeah.
So when you see the headlines suggesting that global warming is about to kill us all, that terrorists may strike at any time, what part of that do you think doesn't affect you?
May
strike. I see. So you're suggesting... Right. Would you restaff the news with clairvoyance, or would you train up the current news readers? Would it be Gypsy Rose and Rolly Waller reading the news in the end?
No, you'd clear out all the
clear them
old
out.
guard.
So no more Kaplinski?
Afraid not, no.
Right, you can have this. That's genius.
Mind you, if you're replacing Murnahan and Kaplinski with Geller and Meg, I'm not sure that is an improvement.
But you could have spoon bending as well.
You don't really like the news, do you?
I'm trying to defend your idea. We have commissioned a clairvoyant newsreader to give it a go in a Radio 4 styling. So I have no idea what the news is going to tell us, but let's just see if it helps to persuade Chris that it is a potentially good idea.
And now it's time for the clairvoyant news on Radio 4 with me, Gypsy Brian Perkins. At the 2009 Oscars, Dave Gorman triumphs, winning Best Actor for his role in Genius, the movie. He celebrates into the night with his wife, Halle Berry. In other news, England cricket captain Chris Addison has thanked the Prime Minister for his words of congratulations after England's Ashes triumph, saying it was very nice of him to take time out of his Oscar-winning celebrations.
I'm coming round to the idea a little bit now. I think there's something in it. Is that not helping to persuade you at all?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Just on the basis that Kaplinski's gone, that's good enough for me. I don't really care what you replace her with, just so long as she goes. Skin stretched over ambition.
Well, I think it's going your way, Thurston. Even though I was getting a bad vibe, I'm just going to confirm this. Chris, clairvoyant news, is that genius or not?
Let me just be clear about this. I think it's a rubbish idea, but on technicality, it's a genius.
Thurston Young, congratulations, you are a genius. OK, our next idea comes from Simon Gray, and he is from Tame in Oxfordshire.
Dear Genius, my idea is humane, brilliant and ecological, and involves chickens. It's well known that happy chickens produce better eggs, but chickens are only truly happy if they live in fields, treading on buttercups and sitting on 5-bar gates. The trouble is that this is expensive and takes up good farmland that could better be developed into prime get-away-from-it-all real estate. My idea is virtual reality headsets for chickens. With headsets firmly in place, they would be treated to a constant diet of sunny summer days, fence posts and meadow flowers. With deft programming, we could convince them that the cheap seed in the trough in front of them was premium corn scattered by a pretty farm girl in a gingham dress.
Right. Chris, help me, what do you think?
I think that's immediately an appealing idea. So these are battery chickens that don't know they're battery chickens?
Yes.
Firstly, the premise of your idea is that we need happier chickens. Is that right?
Happy chickens produce good eggs. And
happy chickens produce good eggs. How do you measure the happiness of the chicken?
Good eggs.
It was all there. I'll be honest with you, it was all there. I'm a bloody fool not to have seen it.
It's a very convincing argument.
How do we deal with the business of exercise?
Well, they only need to stand up for the egg to get out, and then they sit down again.
They think they're flapping their way up to 5-bar gates and running around a field, don't they?
Yes.
So how do you convince the chicken that it's moving rather than just...
I think what Chris is saying here is, imagine you're on an EasyJet flight, we put you in a virtual reality headset, are you really convinced you've got leg room?
Yeah.
I think it's going to need some good programming, but they could walk around in a small circle, perhaps.
OK. See, so we've got sheds full of chickens wired up with virtual reality headsets. This is the chicken matrix. Which actually leads us to a problem, which is a small band of free chickens in long leather overcoats and the ability to leap into the air and be viewed from all angles at once. So the chickens never really know whether or not they're existing in a proper universe or not?
No, and we use Bluetooth, so they could have a sort of exercise time.
These are Bluetooth access chickens. So these are wireless headsets?
So it's wireless, yes.
You've got absolutely no respect for budgets at all, young man.
Well, if they're wireless, why not give them virtual reality and let them roam free?
Does he want...
Oh, dear.
My head's melting.
That'll be the virtual reality headset. They get awfully warm.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you know what chickens really want. I think, especially when I heard your pitch, I think the pretty farm girl in the gingham dress was more your fantasy than the chickens.
Yeah, that's my pitch.
Yeah, I suspect. Well, the other thing I'm not sure about, I'm not sure it would be healthy because, well, certainly what I was taught when I was younger, and I believe it to be true, if chickens are really happy, they lay Kinder Surprises. I mean, that's essentially the kind of thing you're offering,
we
isn't
want
it?
to make them happy because we can move them to a smaller space, get better eggs.
This is all about the eggs for you, isn't it?
It is, I'm afraid, yeah.
I think it's all about the property development.
It's the girl in the gingham dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
just
correct
trying
as
to
well.
make enough money to impress the girl in the gingham dress. You know she's not real, don't you?
Why don't you just make one headset for yourself?
With a girl with a gingham dress.
Chris, I feel you're sort of going this way. I'm not sure, though. What do you think? Virtual reality for chickens, is that genius or is it not?
I think straight down the line genius.
There you
That's
go.
my belief.
Yeah. Well, our final idea tonight comes from Katie Ambrose from Southampton.
Dear Genius, I think that socks should be sold in threes instead of pairs. We all lose socks. When we do, we hold on to the remaining sock in the hope that its missing partner will turn up. If a third sock was available, you could continue wearing this pair of socks for longer, giving the socks a 100% increase in their life for only 50% of the material cost.
Chris, what do you think?
Let me work this out. So now you're selling socks in threes. This is the standard unit of sock is a trio. Now, how would you administer the sock wearing? Do you keep one sock in reserve for when one of the original socks goes missing? Because what worries me about that is that there's an unequal wear on the sock. And to get around that, I suppose you could wear the socks on a rotational basis. But then you would have to label the socks to ensure that you're doing this correctly, and given the number of socks that people wear and possess, some sort of rota system.
Well, my socks never seem to come back from the wash in pairs anyway, so I always have to root around for a spare one. So there'd be a cycle. One would be in the wash, one would be in your drawer, one would be just circulating.
I see. So
on its way either to the wash or to the drawer, so you'd be able to round them up.
So they govern themselves in that sense.
Well, no, I actually used to do something very similar to this. When I was poor in Manchester, I used to buy my socks from a wholesaler.
He lived there. It wasn't just one day.
Yeah. No, I was living in Manchester for many years and was very poor at one point. And I used to buy like 30 pairs of socks at a time from a wholesaler, and they would be identical. And I kind of did it on this principle. One, they were dirt cheap buying them from a wholesaler. And two, I never had a problem matching pairs coming out of the laundry. I might have lost socks. I might not have done. I don't have a clue. They were all identical. I didn't care. It was a wonderful time.
But I think it could apply to earrings as well, because I know girls always lose earrings. And then they're probably, they're much more valuable than socks, aren't they? So, and then there'd be less mining for diamonds.
I've got two pairs of socks here. Okay, so I'm not sure. So if you've got one pair of socks, and you wear these for a while, but you had another pair instead of just the trio, okay, you lose one. It's okay. You've still got a pair of socks to wear, and now you've got a trio.
Yeah.
So isn't the quattro better?
But the whole idea
because it's two pairs of socks to wear that become your idea when you lose one.
Wait. No. In defence of the idea, if they were sold in trios, you'd have 6, wouldn't you? So this thing would go on a great deal longer than your crazy 4 idea, which is going to run out as soon as we lose that second sock.
I think you're just proving that the idea works, really.
Well, I was, yes.
But what we're really proving is that more socks is better.
But buying 3 would be cheaper than buying 12, for example, so...
But 12 would last, I reckon, 4 times as long as 3.
No, you're wrong.
But
No.
Bad
maths. Bad maths. Because 3 would last. Say 3 lasted. How long would you say it normally is before you lose a sock?
9 weeks.
9 weeks. Right. That's actually one of the things that happened towards the end of the film, 9.5 weeks, that precipitated the breakup, was the loss of a sock. If you have 3 socks, you lose one after 9 weeks, and then you've got another 9 weeks, haven't you, to go,
yeah.
Right? If you've got 12 socks, you lose one of them, you've still got 11 socks, Dave. It goes down that way. It's you know, it's not in divisions, it's not in units of 3, is it?
You're assuming that we lose socks individually. I put it to you that we sometimes lose pairs and don't know about it. But I get a feeling that Chris has a very good vibe about this and it's not going to be necessary. I'll just check for you. Chris Addison, sock trios. Is that genius or not?
Yeah, it is. It's genius.
You're a genius, Katie Ambrose. Well done, you. Chris, I think you picked a few ideas that you thought were genius. I need you to pick your 2 favourites. You like the Clairvoyant News, the virtual reality for chickens, and the socks as trios. Which are your 2 favourite ideas of those you've heard this evening?
Chickens, socks.
There you go. I'd like to invite back to the stage Simon Gray and Katie Ambrose. If you'd like to... One of you stand here and one of you here. OK, it's an audience vote at this stage. We need to know which is your favourite idea. Is it virtual reality for chickens? Or is it socks in trios? Chris, your eye was on the needle. What was the result there?
I believe it was the socks in trios.
There you go. Katie, congratulations. Katie, is this possibly the happiest day of your life?
So far, yeah, I would say. Well... Okay.
No, say it is.
It definitely is.
Thank you very much. It's much better when people say that it is. Well, I'd like to thank Chris Addison for being a genius guest, but there's just time for a few ideas suggested by tonight's studio audience, which include soundproof underpants, scratch and sniff menus, and an out-of-town religious shopping centre to be called the Jesus Christ Superstore. Good night.
Genius was hosted by Dave Gorman and featured special guest Chris Addison.